Good evening, Ajahn.
Hey.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to guided meditation on Monday night at the Buddha Loka Centre of the Buddhist Society of Victoria. Thank you for joining us, whether you're here in the hall or whether you are online as part of the audience. Thank you for joining us. Tonight's guided meditation is being led by Ajahn Sādaro. Thank you, Ajahn. We will get pretty quickly into the meditation tonight. Just a reminder, if you're here in the hall, to please make sure your phone is on silent or turned off, so it won't disturb anyone. We'll meditate until about 8:30 p.m, and after that there'll be time for some questions. So if you're here in the hall, you can raise your hand at that point, or if you're online, you're able to type your question into the live chat. So thank you very much, and we'll start with the meditation.
Langdon, very nice. Nice to see everybody here. Thank you for braving the extreme conditions and lots of wind, lots of cold. So nice that you're all here in a nice warm hall. Anybody, is it the first time they're here? First time? Okay, nice. Have you ever meditated before, or? Okay. So just as a quick overview, we're probably going to be sitting for about an hour. So just get comfortable, and I'll give some guidance throughout the course of it, and see how you go. An hour's a long time if you've never meditated before, but it's nice and quiet. So just relax while you're here. Okay. With that, we might get started then. Find a nice comfortable seat. Somewhere where you feel relaxed and at ease. Somewhere that's not putting too much strain on the body. If you need to sit on a chair, it's okay. If you'd like to sit on the floor, it's fine. Just see if you can start by noticing whatever state of mind that you're in at the moment. You might be relaxed and ready to go. You might be somewhat wound up from the day. Or it even just might be neutral. Whatever it is, just see if you can put it all aside. Any expectations? Any prior burdens? Just make a conscious resolution. And for the next hour or so, we'll put all those down. The time you have to practice is precious. So we can make the resolve to make the most of it and do the best that we can. So anything that we maybe feel like we're grasping hold of or aversively trying to push away, see, we can simply drop all that, let it all go. And just be here presently with our meditation object. Whenever the past or the future expectations or any kind of remorse, states that you feel like are positively or negatively valenced, whenever they come up, it's fine, just let them be and try to remain centered, still and tranquil. Resting on and embracing your meditation object, like the breath. Whatever's most comfortable for you. Spend the next few minutes now just allowing the mind to settle, become centered on your main method of meditation. as you keep returning over and over to your meditation object, you might notice periods of times where your mind or your awareness becomes centered, stilled, or clear, or balanced. If it does move into these kind of states, see if you can allow the mind or your attention to balance at that point. Just like you balance something in your hand. Once it stops rocking and moving too far, you just make small adjustments, small corrections, and that object starts to become still. Just make these small adjustments to balance and center your mind. can rest in that balanced and equanimous, clear state of mind. It makes it easier for us to notice those subtle movements of the mind. Usually those movements can be boiled down to either one or two qualities. Either the mind starts to move and it wants something, wants things to be a particular way, or it doesn't want something, tries to push things away, becomes averse. There's always this subtle push and pull between wanting and aversion. Whenever the mind ripples in either way, it disturbs our equanimity. See if for the last few minutes of the meditation you can notice if the mind starts to move into wanting or grasping, or if it starts to move to not wanting or aversion, either in coarse or subtle ways. And if you do catch it, just let it peter out and try to stay in this balanced, centered, equanimous state. Very good. Hope you had a nice meditation. Weren't worried about trees falling on you with the wind and all these kinds of things. It's a good thing. Pretty safe here, hopefully.
Thank you, Ajahn. Before we get to the questions, we just have a very few quick announcements. There are more chances to extend your meditation practice this week. Tomorrow night we have another guided meditation here with our lay teacher, Sandeep, at 7:30. That's not available online, but we have other opportunities every day. If you find it supports your meditation practice to be part of a group, you can join every morning between 4 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. We have New Day, New Mind. That's on our Discord channel. You can find out more about that on our website or in the newsletter. Ajahn Nando gives a guided meditation in the New Day, New Mind room at 6 a.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. And then Monday to Thursday nights at 7 p.m. there's a 20-minute monastic-led guided meditation. That's also on Discord Monday to Thursday nights. That's called Make Meditation a Healthy Habit. So to find out more about either of those, as I said, you can go to the BSV website. This Sunday there is a special occasion up at Newbury Buddhist Monastery. It's
Saturday.
Saturday? Did I say Sunday?
Yep.
Thank you. Yep. Saturday is the 10th anniversary of the Newbury Buddhist Monastery. It's fully booked at this moment, so if you haven't already registered for that, you're not able to attend, I'm afraid. But just to point out that we usually hold a guided meditation day on the first Saturday of each month here. That won't be taking place this Saturday because of the 10th birthday celebrations at Newbury. So with the next guided meditation, the full meditation retreat day will be the first Saturday in October. The other big news is that we have the Friday nights coming up starting in October. They're called Discover Buddhism. So if you're new to meditating, or if you're new to Buddhism, they will be on starting the first Friday.
4th, I believe.
The Friday the 4th?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first Friday, which is Friday the 4th.
I think so.
Yes. So
don't quote me on that. But
to come along to those. Again, more information on the website. So a good way to sort of develop your understanding more about meditation. Do you want to say anything about that, Ajahn? Or?
Yeah, why not? It's this, we, every year, maybe a couple of times a year, we run a whole series of Friday night sessions, and these usually go from between 7 to just to maybe 8 or 8:30 or so. They're really aimed at anybody that's just starting out in meditation, or somebody that maybe been meditating for a while and the habit slipped a little bit and you just want to get back into it. Very, very low key, low pressure kind of thing. It's really good for people if they've never come to a Buddhist center. It's pretty informal. We just go over some of the basics of developing a meditation practice. Then we go for a few weeks over developing different kinds of meditation. So you could say like the cultivating kinds of meditation, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, all these kinds of things. So yeah, it's quite a nice thing on a Friday night to do, and especially if you got somebody around that's like, you do this meditation thing. How do I do this meditation thing as well? You seem pretty calm. How do I do this as well? Or if you got somebody in your family, you're like, why do you spend time at this like weird Buddhist center? What do you guys do there? Like, it's a nice thing to bring somebody along that's never actually encountered Buddhism or meditation. So it's pretty easy to understand. It's pretty easy to practice along with. So yeah, I think it's quite a good thing for people that are new, but then also anybody that is just sort of looking to, maybe even renew and reinvigorate their practice. And especially for people that might be looking for a community. A lot of people start meditation doing it online, but they end up going, well, I want to look for an actual physical community of people, this is also quite a nice thing to do with that as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn. The final announcement just is that next weekend, on the Sunday and the Monday night, those sessions will be taken by Ajahn Nisarano. So the Sunday morning Dhamma talk and the guided meditation next Monday. That are all the announcements. Are there any questions here in the hall?
Yeah.
Bring the microphone over.
Okay, I'm a bit rusty at meditation, and I was wondering if I have a pain in my meditation and it doesn't go away quickly, what is the best process to meditating through that?
Yep. Okay, good. So is it a pain that you usually have there like all the time? Say, for example, you got a slip disc or something in your back, or?
I have Parkinson's symptoms, so I sometimes get broken bones.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And they can heal up again, but you know, sometimes I find my rib's broken, and then
right. That is an intense meditation if you break your ribs doing it. Like, so the reason I ask this is because when we meditate, there's pains that come up from, if we have an outstanding physical injury, we've got something, old broken bones, there may be arthritis in the bones, and then we're sitting there, and then we start to get that kind of pain. That's a pain that's you could say more like a more standard kind of pain. Then we get these other kinds of pains that just arise when we're sitting meditation. So our, say for example, our knee might get sore, our leg might get numb. Now these pains that come up from meditation, if they're not really tied to a pre-existing physical condition, most of the time they'll just go away by themselves. But if it is something where you do have some kind of physical, some kind of actual pre-existing physical pain, say for example, you have like a bad back or something like that, and you're sitting there and it's quite painful, then this isn't really something that's going to go away. So maybe you have to adjust your posture a little bit more. For those pains that maybe just come up, those kind of standard pains that come up in meditation, again, you can work with those a little bit. So let's say, for example, you sit for 20 minutes in your meditation, and then you start to get pins and needles in your calf or something like that. The natural inclination that one has is, I should move, I need to change my position. You can work with this a little bit and go, okay, well, let's see if I can get up to 23 minutes without moving. And then after those extra 3 minutes, then I'll move if I really need to. And in that period of 3 minutes, you can watch, okay, does the pain change? Does it stay the same? Does it get better? Does it get worse? Does it come? Does it go? Does it move around the body in any kind of way? So you can use a little bit of, you could say, insight and wisdom around some of these more standard kinds of pains that you might get from your meditation. And again, if it gets to the point where it's too bad, it feels too painful, then it's fine, then you just move. But it is nice to work with them a little bit. But if it is something that is like a pre-existing medical, physical pain, then if it is getting bad, then you just move. You decide to sit on a chair for the night, whatever it actually is. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, perfect. That'd be something if I was like if I was sitting meditation and somebody was here. So if I was leading a meditation and somebody like broke some bones because of the meditation, I'd be like, man, I led a really hardcore meditation that night. But you can't do that.
There's one question online, Ajahn. It's not related to meditation, but just practice. Okay. What does Buddhism say about relationships before marriage and physical intimacy before marriage?
Yeah, good question. It's not something that comes up quite a lot, to tell you the truth, because we have, as part of a standard Buddhist ethical system, we have what's called the 5 precepts, and one of those precepts is refraining from any kind of sexual misconduct or harmfully sexual behavior, infidelity, sexual violence, rape, all these kinds of things. So the whole theme around intimacy before marriage, or any kind of physical intimacy, it's not really given much credence outside of that, as long as it's not harmful in any kind of way, as long as it's not harmful for either party, then there's nothing really said too much about it in Buddhism. The only thing, obviously you're asking a Theravada Buddhist monk this, and in Theravada we go a lot off you could say like the more historical teachings of the Buddha. Now, when the Buddha formulated a lot of this stuff, this was 2,600 years ago in India, so standards of relationships were very, very different in those times, and so as part of that 3rd precept for training in not indulging in any kind of sexual misconduct, this did involve the clause about not taking somebody else's wife, daughter, sister that is spoken for. Now that is taken to be, obviously, if it was somebody's wife, or if it was somebody's or somebody's daughter that was maybe betrothed to someone or anything like that. But these are more kind of extreme cases, and again, this is 2,600 years ago, so relationships are obviously very, very different now. So this is just to say that it's not really a big issue as long as it's not harming anybody in any kind of way, as long as it's not harming either party, as long as it's not causing a kind of harmful impact on the people around the two people in the relationship, parents, other friends, all these kinds of things. As long as it's sort of within those boundaries of safety and consent, and that then it's usually not really seen as much of a strong and stringent issue, especially anything before marriage.
Thank you, Ajahn. Are there any more questions in the hall?
Hi, Ajahn. Thank you very much for the meditation.
No problem.
This question isn't related to meditation. It's more something that I've been wanted. I've wanted to know what at least from your perspective as a Western Buddhist monk, what your perspective is on, engaging in political protest. Part of the reason I bring that up is because I've been one of the countries that I'm quite involved with, Indonesia. There has been a lot of protests in the former capital of Jakarta recently, and I've been sort of struggling to reconcile what is, I guess, what may be considered a Buddhist attitude towards protesting as a layperson, but also maybe asking myself the question: at what point would I see someone like yourself take up a picket sign and start marching towards the palace of your respective country?
Really good and really important question on many kinds of fronts, because you can transpose this answer to any kind of culture, any kind of conflict, any kind of political situation that's out there. Now, so from a traditional Theravada perspective, there is this kind of recommendation that at least from the monastic side of things, that monastics don't get involved in any kind of politics in any way. Then when you're sort of starting to move into Mahayana-based practices, there is this sort of melding in with Confucianism to some extent. So there is an understanding there that one has a kind of social duty and a social obligation, but as long as that's not done in any kind of violent or harmful way, then this is okay. Now, when you sort of move up, closer to the more modern era, you have people like Thich Nhat Hanh, who was really sort of started this kind of engaged Buddhism, where this, and he did actually protest quite a lot. Obviously, the insurgency within Vietnam, and as a form of protest, but very much a kind of peaceful protest. So being engaged in that way, but it's a very, very form of peaceful protest as opposed to getting out there on the kind of front lines and sort of pushing back the police or whatever it is. So there's different views around what is appropriate or not appropriate for at least from a monastic perspective to be engaged in. What we have to be just from a monastic perspective right now, from a monastic perspective, what we have to be very careful about is taking sides in something. Now, you can obviously look throughout history as like some kind of protest, some kind of movement starts out very, it's working towards, has a positive ends in mind, trying to change something and trying to do it in a kind of positive way. And then through the process of protesting and pushing back, actually the movement as it is changes. And you can, sometimes have bad actors in a particular kind of movement. And then a whole kind of trajectory of maybe a movement or a party like actually ends up becoming corrupted. Now, the reason I say all this is because, say, for example, if from a monastic perspective, if just say you align with one side, you strongly align with one side, what ends up happening is in some kind of way, that side gets aligned with a Buddhist position. So people think, okay, the Buddhist monks, they're on this side of the debate. So therefore, whatever this party stands for, Buddhism stands for. So one has to be really careful about these kind of broader social issues and making any kind of overt statements about them, because it can be sort of viewed in this way of like, the monks and the nuns, they're siding with this. Now again, this could change in time. So for example, you look at something like Burma at the moment. Monks very much get into different rallying behind different political parties. Those parties change at some point. They're very supportive of the working class or of people that are in unprivileged positions. Then it actually turns into that party sort of turns into kind of a bit of a dictatorship, and then it's like you have monastics supporting a dictatorship. So you just have to be very careful about what you overtly express as an opinion on these things, because it can be seen as that it's representative of a Buddhist position, so it's just something you have to be careful about. Now, this is not to say that as a monastic you don't have opinions about these things. This is not to say that you can't sort of in some way do something that is beneficial to what you believe in. But you just have to be very careful about that. That you're not sort of doing it under the banner of Buddhism, because again, it can be misconstrued in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, from a monastic perspective, we just have to be very careful about that. Now, from a lay perspective, this is okay. Now this is a different game kind of thing, because as a lay person, I walk down the street. It's like, hey, that's Buddhism. You walk down the street, and it's like nobody sort of really sort of hangs the banner of Buddhism around your neck. So with this, if anybody that's a lay Buddhist and they have convictions about something and they see that something is maybe wrong in some kind of way in society and they wanted to speak up or to act on something, then this is fine, as long as they, I think as well, if we think about these things in terms of Dhamma, of, you know, when's the right time to speak, when's the appropriate time to speak, what is speech and what is action that is going to be for some kind of good, what is speech and action that's coming from a kind of egotism or a kind of misaligned view in some way. I think if, you know, just generally as Buddhists, if we check these intentions, we check our actions, we look at the particular problem that's out there and we think, okay, my intentions and my actions, I'm trying to make them as wholesome as possible, and I'm trying to actually do something that is useful for this situation. I think that's fine. And again, this is just my opinion on this thing. Different people have different opinions about this, but yeah. So I think for a lay Buddhist, it's, you know, fine to get out there and actual, you know, if you wanted to get on the front lines and protests, you know, that's your business. But it just is a bit of a different kind of shade for a Buddhist monastic, because you're just seen as a representative of Buddhism, then that thing can get aligned with one particular party or another. So you just have to be careful as a monastic perspective.
But thank you for that answer. I guess I'd like to add to that, much as a lay person, much like being a Buddhist, if we were to suddenly go to a protest in our work uniform, and that all gets on, so we have to be quite mindful of
100%.
even how we appear, lest the groups that we're a part of get construed with being part of a protest, even if that may not be our original intention. We obviously it's different for a lay person, but also there are similarities as well. No, thank you very much for your answer.
No problem. Yeah, no, it's a good clarification as well, because there's plenty of organisations you might be a part of, and it's like they might have policies around, you know, expressing too many things on social media yourself. So it's like, that's fine to do, but, you know, don't do it under the guise of that you're a member of this organisation or something. So in some way, this is sort of similar across many stratas of society. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem.
Are there any other questions in the hall? No, I think we're done.
Shall wind down? Yeah, wind down. Okay, very good. Nice to see everybody tonight. Good questions. Very good. Hope to see you all. Hope to see you all again here. I'm not going to be here next week. I get a Monday night off, so that's good. So anyway, hope to see you back here at BSV sometime soon. Okay. Good night, everyone. All right.